What's going on, Jeromes? Happy Monday out there. Thank you very much for coming along on the daily live stream, 11 a.m. Central Time, Monday through Friday. We got an hour-ish of Vikings NFL content for y'all to consume. Start of a brand new week. What'd you guys do this weekend? See what we did. Oh, we did film work on Oli Udo and Drew Samia, which is like pornography, which is great. Did some work around the house, which I feel like homework. Not like homework, but like housework and just like home improvement stuff. I feel like that we've entered that phase of life where essentially it's kneel downs, just trying to get out. You're in victory formation and then you're done. But I actually feel like dads only do yard work because post yard work beers are the best tasting beers out there. Like they really are. Where you're outside, you got the sun, you got vitamin D going on, working up a little bit of sweat. You get the satisfaction of actually like building, creating something, maintaining something, which is great. And then it's nice. It's a good time. But thank you everyone who's watching on the live stream. We got a bunch of regs ready to rock and roll. We got also we are nearing 25K subs. As I just bit my tongue. Damn it, I almost made it. So right now we are at 24,997. So 3 more to go. Might hit it during the stream, which would be pretty sweet. But yeah, it's really cool. And plus we put out to the Jeromes on the chat, like how many or when did you start watching the channel? Like how many subs? And we got a bunch of replies. I'm gonna try to get to all of them here today. And yeah, honestly, just thank you so much. Like we had no idea that we started this that this would actually turn into a thing. Well, either the podcast or the YouTube channel. We just started like, okay, we'll just talk. It's something we like to talk about, like football and whatnot. So, thank you very much for coming along, making this a pretty nice side hustle. Do that up. Also, everyone's watching on demand. Shout out to you guys as well. If you want to support the channel, hit that join box down below. Become a monthly or platinum Jerome. Get yourself that purple check mark, as well as brand new sponsor, Brand MN, the shirt, the hat, my shirt and my hat. Link is down below. Save 50% off using code. What is the code? Is it Jerome? Purple Jerome? Now I have to look. If only I was like prepared and doing stuff and like good at this. Promo code Real Jerome. It's pretty solid. They picked out that code, so that's how dialed in they are. They know. They fully know. So help them out because they help us out. So first off, I want to say R.I.P. Don Shula. Passed away, 90 years old. Of course, every death is a tragedy, but if you're getting up there in age, if you've lived a good full life, that's something to be very proud of. So Don Shula, 90 years old, born in 1930 in Ohio, played at John Carroll University, which is that in Montana? If only we could find out. Or is that in Virginia? Montana or Virginia? It's one of the two. Oh, it's in Ohio. So right in the middle of Virginia. And am I thinking of Carroll College? Because John Gagliardi, he started coaching at Carroll College, I believe. Yeah, so Carroll, Montana. Oh, so there you go. So we're not wrong. The Carroll Fighting Saints. They're in Helena, which is a beautiful city, by the way. I love everything about Montana and Idaho, except for like the militias, but everything else, it's just amazing. Anyways, so Don Shula passed away. So 26 years as an exec and a player and a coach, blah blah blah. So he started off like people remember like old Don Shula, coaching the Dolphins, Dan Marino and all that stuff. And yeah, absolutely for sure. Won 2 Super Bowls. One was against the Vikings, which is not great. But he started out with the Colts, the Baltimore Colts, back in the day. And then also, I'm pretty sure he was the coach that lost Super Bowl 3. Or maybe I'm completely off base there. Oh, no. Yeah. Super Bowl 3. It lost 16-7 as 14-point favorites against the Jets. Oh, they beat the Vikings in the playoffs. So for that, we thank you. Cool. And then went on to the Dolphins. And that was a knock on Shula early on. Oh, can't win the big one. Can't do that. Can't do that. But then the 14-0 perfect season of the Dolphins, 72. Was just so they beat Washington in that Super Bowl. Did they beat the Vikings in a Super Bowl? I feel like they did, because the Vikings lost to the Chiefs, the Steelers, the Raiders, and yes, the Dolphins. So they beat 24-7, not 38-7, 24-7. Great, just wonderful. Where was this Super Bowl? All right, so this one is at Rice Stadium. Oh, man. Yeah, it's Houston. Great. Bud Grant against Don Shula. Man. All right, let's look at the box score because we always love doing that. Yeah, Bob Greasy, 6 of 7 for 73 yards. Thanks. Great. But Larry Zonka. Larry Zonka just dumped trucking the Vikings for $145 and 2 touchdowns. Mercury Morris is also a person. Mercury Morris is the dude who's always annoying. He gets on like the national shows. Like, say a team starts 7-0 and the Mercury Morris gets on TV. Let me know when they're in the neighborhood or something like that. Just whatever. Like, they're so insufferable. And plus, it's going to be even harder now with the 17-game schedule of having an undefeated team. Just like whatever. So Tark in catch-up mode, 18 for 28, 182. Not so much. Oscar Reed and Chuck Foreman. Man, they really bottled up Chuck Foreman. Like that Dolphins defense, I think, were they the no-name defense? Pretty sure, but they were pretty legit. Doug Gilliam or John Gilliam. I'm just combining names. Stu Voigt, recently a prison. Stu Voigt. Yeah, man, that's a great team. Alan Page, just bums me out. But what can you do there? Gary or Premium. Stupid jabroni. Yeah. But Don Shula, winningest coach in NFL history. I mean, just look at this. 328 wins, a 677 winning percentage, 2 Super Bowl wins. It's just amazing. It's amazing. I also went to 2 other Super Bowls, by the way. So he lost 82, the strike shortened season to Washington. Then also lost in 84. That was so lost to Washington. Doug Williams, I believe, was the MVP of that Super Bowl. And then 84, which was year 2 of Dan Marino. We're like, oh, well, you lost to the Niners. Actually, I believe this is at Stanford Stadium. So this is basically a home game. Yeah, Stanford Stadium. It's basically a home game for the Niners. By the way, Stanford Stadium is where Bill Walsh started his head coaching career at Stanford. Also, that's where Denny Green got his feet wet. That's where he started up on the Bill Walsh coaching tree. But yeah, this is like, oh, he'll be back. I mean, Dan Marino, year 2. It's like, not so much. No. But Don Shula went on to open up a bunch of steakhouses. Also, my first Vegas memory. So first trip out there was in 06, I want to say 05 or 06, and was out there with a bunch of friends, and it was, first time you get to Vegas, especially when you're young, you just try and carpe diem, seize the day. And so walking down the strip had like one of those yards of just like over sugared and under booze pina coladas and just like full on tourist, right? And it was like 4 a.m, and we ended up playing like $5 blackjack at Hooters, which is on the south end of the strip, kind of near the Trop and whatnot. So is Hooters still up? It doesn't matter. But yeah, so doing all that, and they're like, oh man, we are hungry, so let's find some late night vittles. And so we went to Don Shula's Steakhouse, or went home. Was it Shula or Marino's? Hooters, Casino, Don Shula? Or was it Dan Marino? Oh, yeah, it was Shula's Steakhouse. Yeah. And then we got, honestly, it's really hard to screw up wings, but we had some of the worst chicken wings ever, like overbreaded and just like, I don't know, man. I don't know. So that's my Don Shula story, I guess, but amazing coach. Did a lot for the game. Was really slept on. Like, in terms of the greatest coaches of all time, like immediately think of Belichick and Bill Walsh and Tom Landry and Bud Grant, but Don Shula certainly is up there. I mean, he has more wins than all of them, right? And Yeah, full on respect, Don Shula. Rest in peace there. All right, so the Carroll Fighting Saints. I'm just playing. So we got some Q&A. We got a bunch on a Monday. Let's dive on. Carter Hayes. I always struggle with the zooming. Zoom. Come on. I mean, if only you think after like 6 weeks of this that we would have the technical stuff figured out, but we don't. But that is life, I guess. All right, so first up is Carter Hayes. God damn it. There. Whatever. First up, Carter Hayes. Hope they cut him pre-June 1st, frees up a ton of cap, lets the kids play, team has a ton of potential. So I think he's talking about Reef. So they could designate him as a post-June 1st cut, which allows teams to spread the dead cap hit over the remaining years of the contract. So they could spread it over 2 years. And so it would free up $11 million. And also, like, they don't have to wait till June 1st to cut him. They could just designate him as a post-June 1st cut, which is fine. So I think with no OTAs, I think it's probably unlikely at this point. But if they do get into training camp or some semblance of, and say Ezra Cleveland's rocking things out at left tackle, and so one of the kids are good to go at guard, whether it be Oli Udoh, Kyle Hinton maybe one time, then they could let him go. Also, if you're watching on the live stream, let us know where you're watching from, and give us we'll give a couple shout outs there. Blackbear 207. Can't say we haven't tried between drafting and we did attempt to trade for Trent Williams. Still, with all that, the draft picks we've used on linemen, we still don't have a top 10 to 12 starting on line. I think there will be some growing pains this year. Let's just hope it doesn't cost us too many games. Well, initially I was kind of like, So they didn't take an interior offensive lineman in the mid rounds when they easily could have. There's a lot of really nice names available that went in a different direction. And then they take Blake Brandell, who's probably a swing tackle project at best, and then Kyle Hinton, small school, pretty legit, but again, small school, probably a couple years away. Oh, we're going to play him at center. Okay. But also, I think it may be just the faith that they have in Drew Samia and Oli Udoh. We're going back and looking at his tape from last season. Like, Drew Samia is pretty legit at that right guard spot. I think Oli Udoh, you can make a good case that Oli Udoh looked better than Drew Samia. So even though this could be our fault too, just sort of penciled in Drew Samia as that starting right guard in place of Josh Klein. I mean, don't sleep on Oli Udoh. Maybe he wins that spot, or maybe they start both of them. Put Oli Udoh at left guard, which he certainly doesn't have the movement skills of a Bradbury or a Cleveland or O'Neal, but he's proficient enough. And obviously the strength is there. Obviously the anchor is there. So he could be really surprising a lot of people. So maybe that is the overarching plan, that they gave Oli Udoh and Drew Samia a redshirt year, and now they're coming in and ready to do some damage. Kyle Rippentrop. Put the kids out there and let them figure it out. All we have is great potential. They just have to learn to make mistakes. Is this a Q&A one? Oh, no. I even pulled up the wrong one. That's my bad. So this is one we're just talking about offensive line, which, hell, that could be a perfectly fine Q&A one. There we go. All right, Monday live stream cues. That's my bad. I don't know. I'm still entertained. Anyways, who's going to be starters, backups, cut for cornerback going into the season? Love the work, man, to help me get through the Rona. All right, let's take a look. Vikings roster. I think they may keep 6 cornerbacks this year, which, I would not be mad at. And yeah, talk about Wikipedia, I don't care. So, all right, so let's count. So Jeff Gladney in, or Holton Hill in, Mike Hughes in, and Cameron Dantzler in. So, all right, so 4 spots are going to be taken up. So essentially the rest of the cornerbacks are going to be playing for 1, maybe 2 spots. I think that Harrison Hand may stick around as like a hybrid cornerback safety, so that you could call that 5. I think Neville Clark has a good chance. I think Chris Boyd could build on what he brought in last season, bringing on year 2. I think Nate Metters could be pretty close. Sales, I mean, the CFL dude certainly has some talent, but I mean, this is a nice numbers game going on here. Kevon Hall is pretty legit. Mark Fields is interesting. So I mean, there's a lot of depth. There's certainly a lot of talent, and the Vikings will end up cutting some really solid young cornerback prospects, which, in a full-on rebuild, you want to have as many options as possible. So I'm frankly pretty hyped about the cornerback room. Abdi. Who would you want as a quarterback in the game-winning drive, Yoda in his prime or Deadpool? Well, Yoda can use the Force, right? Like telekinesis and whatnot. So I guess Yoda. I mean, Deadpool's cool, but I mean, the Vikings did have Wade Wilson at quarterback back in the day. House Gamer 15. The Vikings can get A-Rod in a couple of years because him and Kirk's dead cap it kind of match up. Like I was all in on Favre. I'm less all in on Aaron Rodgers because we've seen him like melt the last 3 years. After he walked into a bar, he has not been the same quarterback. A couple shouts here. So we got Nick Zika in Ames. We got Travis in Forest Lake Flake. Karsten Ciceros from Chi-Town. What's up? We got Tyler Tischer, Boulder, Colorado. God, I love Boulder. Boulder's such a great town where, you know, you have the weed, and you have a college town, but it's also an affluent town, but it's also a super like chill, laid back town, and you got the mountains, yeah, everything. It's great. Preacher Paul hauling it for all y'all, St. Regis, Montana. I love Montana. Here. David Tedman, watching from the Iron Range up norte. What's up? Mike Benham, Skull from Grand Rapids, Purple Rain, Wausau, Wisconsin. Nick Farmer, Sheboygan, Wisconsin. Oh, so something that bugged me a lot. So I understand that sports teams have to take on corporate sponsors, catch as catch can. They have to up that revenue to pay the big salaries and keep putting money in the owner's pockets. I get it. But so the Twins, when they're still in the Metrodome, they had this great thing called the Dome Dog, right? And it was from Hormel, Austin, Minnesota, the crown jewel of South Central Minnesota. So it's a great in-state town, great in-state company that employs a lot of people. Like if Hormel shut down, Austin would probably close. I mean, that straight up. So they had that for a number of years, as well as Hormel did the hot dogs for the Vikings too when they were in the Metrodome. It's great. But then, so Sheboygan sausage comes in from Sheboygan, Wisconsin, and the Twins decide, hey, Sheboygan sausage is going to pay us more than a Hormel, so we're going to take money from a Wisconsin company and promote a Wisconsin hot dog in all of our games. And then the Vikings dropped on board too, because you remember, if you listen to like games on the radio, remember Christian Ponder. Hi, I'm Christian Ponder. And when I want a sausage, I reach for a Sheboygan sausage. I got Sheboygan on my mind. It's a travesty. Like, I don't care if dollars make sense. Just the optics of it. It's not great. Where you kick aside a great, glorious in-state Minnesota company like Hormel to go with an outsider. For shame. For shame. But anyways, Nick, thanks for watching from Sheboygan. Next up is... It's Seth, Lake of the Woods, Michael Butyik, Huntsville, Alabama, way down south. It's prime college football territory. I love it. See, Kentucky, Lake of the Woods. There you go. Anyways, thank you guys for coming along the live stream. It's always fun to catch up with y'all. All right, next up is Paul Morse. What if we traded Cousins after a season or two, assuming he plays terribly, and then draft Spencer Rattler from Oklahoma? I'm intrigued to see what Rattler does, where he is the perceived guy who's going to take over as quarterback of the Sooners. Is a dual threat dude, can sling it, he can run. He's pretty intriguing. And, I mean, Oklahoma has had a pretty good track record when it comes to quarterbacks. Well, maybe not in the NFL, but in terms of Baker Mayfield, number 1 overall pick, Heisman Trophy winner. Kyler Murray, number 1 overall pick, Heisman Trophy winner. Jalen Hurts, 2nd round pick, runner-up in the Heisman. So, I mean, Spencer Rattler could be pretty damn legit because we're talking about Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields. But here's the thing, too. If you're in college long enough, and it's almost like you really should come out after 1 year. Like, if you're able to come out after 1 year, don't go back to school, otherwise they'll pick you apart. That's what happened with Tebow. That's what happened with Matt Leinart. That's what happened with Johnny Manziel to a degree, even though he couldn't declare. So if you are able to stay in college football after an amazing boom year, there will be a backslide. Like the draft nicks will try and pick you apart just to have contrarian takes. And even though Trevor Lawrence is probably as clean and as ready to go as a a number one overall pick as there's been for a number of years. The fact that he's done it for 2 years, I think year 3, I mean, if he has some down parts of this year, which he certainly could because he lost a lot of his offensive line. He lost T. Higgins. Does bring back Travis Etienne. But yeah, that could certainly be an issue with his draft stock. And I mean, this time last year, who was talking about Joe Burrow as the number one overall pick or in the Heisman race, right? Actually, let's bring up 2020 mock draft. This is always hilarious to me. I mean, this is where we get Mitch Leidner as the first round pick, 2020 NFL mock draft. And then, all right, time, custom range. All right, what day is it? 5/4/2019. There you go. All right, way too early mock draft. Way too early mock draft, or should we do the top 100? Let's do the top 100. All right, so exactly 1 year ago, or so April 30th, close enough. All right, so top 100. All right, so this is from Chris Trapasso, who does really good work. Hey, lady, hey, Angie Craig, get off my screen. Get out of here. That's what bugs me about. Anyways, all right, so Chris Trapasso does really good draft work, covers the Bills as well. So this was his top 100 1 year ago. So Tua, Andrew Thomas, Chase Young, Jerry Jeudy, Justin Herbert, Bryce Hall. Like we said, Bryce Hall could have been the number one cornerback taken last year in the draft, but he decided to come back for a senior season, and then not so much. Let's see, quarterback-wise. Jake Fromm was up there. No. See what else here. KJ Costello. No. Not so much. It just looks for a quarterback. From Costello. Shea Patterson. Now, before Shea Patterson got picked up by the Chiefs, almost as like a charity case, Shea Patterson was the first combine invite not to be picked up as a UDFA or drafted. It's just amazing. Cole McDonald was on this list too. Man, Mekhi Becton was down low. Matabuke was down low. Jeff Okudah was 79. I mean, it's just amazing what happens in a year. It's almost like Kenny Willekes was 12. Shit. Jalen Reagor, astute. Throckmorton was up high. Damn. That was before Penei Sewell came in and just destroyed worlds. Penei Sewell was, by the way, I think will probably be the first tackle taken next year. I mean, next year's class is just... but Alaric Jackson. Alaric is a great name. Alaric is a name... was it of a Hunnic king or some sort of steppe person? Either way, like some sort of like Roman era barbarian. Alaric, Rome. King of the Visigoths. There you go. Nailed it. Alaric the First. This is so good. All right, so right now, like I said, I don't listen to... I don't listen to sports podcasts. I just don't. So I listen to Rogan. I listen to history podcasts a lot. So hardcore history, hammer that to death. During the quarantine, I've listened to every single episode probably twice, as well as the history of Rome. It's phenomenal. It is really, really good. Just love that guitar. But anyways, next up is, where are we? If the Vikings don't have any more glaring needs on team and had enough money, should they throw an offer at Clowney or trade for Ngakoue? Nah. Zippy Zoom. Say Sharp is this year's Kendall Wright and his surprise cut. Who are you rolling with at wide receiver 3, BC or Davis? Well, I think BC certainly has the inside track. BC may keep Justin Jefferson on the bench to a degree, just because of him being the incumbent. By the way, once you make the roster, I feel like draft position sort of goes out the window. I mean, BC played, even though he's a 7th round pick last year, he was clearly the wide receiver 3. And I think that that does have some value. I think Tajay is going to make the roster, though. I think he will. But say that he's off the team. Michael Gallup, one time, John Ross. I don't know. I like Davion Davis. I don't really see him ascending to be wide receiver 3 at this point, or Alexander Hollins. or Dylan Mitchell. Tyler, I'm a Cousins fan, but in a year or two, Rodgers and Trubisky will be our quarterbacks, like it or not. No. Like, Rodgers is different than Favre, and Trubisky is just a corpse. Husgamer 15. Should the Vikings extend Hitman, get some cap relief for this year? Yeah, I mean, we've said that the Vikings should be looking into extending Harrison Smith. One, spot rack Harrison Smith, to reward him, and number two, the Vikings can free up a little bit of cap space and get him closer to market. Because even when Harrison signed his contract, when he signed a 5-year, $51.25 million deal, that wasn't top of the market for safeties. I mean, he certainly could have commanded that for sure. But now, what was it? Now with him in new cash of $8 million and change, $8.75 million and change, 2 years left. Very little guaranteed money still left on this deal. I mean, they certainly should reward him. Bring him a little bit closer up here. Plus, tie him to the Vikings through, say age 35. Give him a 3-year extension where I think he'd be worth it. But I mean, Harrison has never struck me as a dude who's always about the money. He's just sort of like, whatever, it'll take care of itself. Plus, I mean, we brought it up on here before that if you had to pick a player that would pull a surprise Luke Kuechly retirement or a surprise Patrick Willis type retirement, it might be Harrison. And it might not even be health related. It might just be, yeah, I've taken care of my money. I'm going to go fly planes. I'm done. Harrison Smith. Next up is Paul Morse. Do you think that the Vikings have a realistic chance to win Jerome Barty this year or even next year? Yes. But of course, I think that every year. Abza Abdi, even 2011. Christian Ponder backing up Donovan McNabb. Going to learn the game from one of the best who's ever played. Let's go. And then that whole week 1 Percy Harvin kick return in San Diego. It's like, oh, it's happening. And then not so much. Jacob McCullough. Do a spicy wing challenge where like every 10 questions, eat a hot wing. I mean, we certainly could do that. And I since talking about those terrible Dan Marino Shula wings, I mean, maybe. We could do our own version of hot ones, except quarantined and alone. Rohit Inampudi. I feel like the must-win games for the Vikes are the Cowboys, Seahawks, Packers at home. What are your thoughts on must-win games? So it's funny that you mentioned it. So we brought up. Let's bring that back. So we it was so dumb. We did a mock schedule because we're out of mock drafts, so we just did up a mock schedule just to be funny. All right, so bringing that up. Why you bringing up old stuff, man? All right, so Vikings mock schedule. So, I mean, you know who you're playing at home and you're playing away, but in terms of taking care of business, I mean, taking care of business at home is always going to be paramount, but Vikings do have a tough road to hoe. So they get the Panthers, who could be plucky. I mean, I'd much rather get the Panthers early in the year as opposed to late in the year because, I mean, new teams, new regimes, new quarterbacks, even though it's Teddy, do take some time to figure things out. So I would much prefer to get the Panthers earlier than later. Plus the Falcons are always legit. Packers at home. Of course, then you got the Titans where Titans, I mean, they're still slept on, but they made the AFC title game last year. So they're still legit. On the road, Colts game is going to be tough. Texans game could be sneaky tough just because of Deshaun, even though Bill O'Brien's a moron. At Seattle, of course. Guaranteed that's going to be Monday night. Has to be, right? Well, the Jaguars on paper, that should be an easy matchup. Then, of course, you're at Tampa. At Tampa when schedule's on rotation, so you knew you were going to play the NFC South anyway. So you're like, okay, that's fine. I mean, Jameis, Evans and Godwin are fine. Whatever. Cameron Brayton, OJ Howard, who cares? Ronald Jones. And then all of a sudden, it's Brady, it's Keshawn Vaughn, it's Gronk, and it's Tyler Johnson added to that gumbo, and it's just like, oh, why? Next up is Stanley Maros. Remember Michael Bennett? I thought he was pretty legit. He's my favorite run back in Madden 04, 96 speed. Yeah, Michael Bennett was pretty solid for a college running back. But then, he got to the Vikings. Yeah, he had the speed, but he's just part of that. Even though we say scout the player, not the helmet. There's just a laundry list of failed Wisconsin running backs. Michael Bennett, Badgers Sports reference. All right, so bring up his college stats. We'll look at his NFL stats. All right, so basically it was a one-year wonder in 2000. 310 carries, 1,681 yards, 11 touchdowns. That's pretty legit. He only had 4 catches, though, which is funny. See Michael Bennett, PFR. And then we'll get shoulder pad list Michael Bennett as well. I'm guessing the 3-time Pro Bowler is not that Michael Bennett. Nailed it. Oh, he made a Pro Bowl? What? Yeah, all right, so 2002, Michael Bennett made the Pro Bowl with the Vikings, 1,296 yards rushing, 5 touchdowns. No big deal. Just really bounced around. And how many teams were you on? All right, the Vikings, the Chiefs, Tampa, the Chargers, and the Raiders. Cool. Great. First round bust. Let's see if he has a spider chart. Draftable. Michael Bennett. I'm guessing he's not the 6'4" one. Here we go, Michael Bennett. Oh, he only ran the 40 and did the vert. All right, but he ran a 4.38 40. Woo. Plus a 39.5-inch vert. What? That is absolutely insane. It's almost impressive. Like the shorter dudes who have huge leaps, that's almost as impressive as the 6'7", 350-pound tackles. Like Corey Stringer, who had like a 35-inch vert. RIP. Man. All right, next up is Despero Wanberg Lem. Season record prediction, go. 11-5. Jared Lewis, are you hoping, like I am, the Vikings are just waiting for COVID to pass before making any guard moves? Yeah, maybe. Maybe you throw a Hail Mary on Joe Thuney. Sure. Maybe Ronald Leary's out there. Maybe Kelechi Assembly. You definitely want to get medical checks on both of those guys, man. That has to be in person. Like you want Sugarman to take a good look at them. But overall, if it's as is, it'd be what it be. Hayden Ziegler, stat predictions for Justin Jefferson and Jeff Gladney. See Jefferson, 54 catches, 712 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Jeff Gladney, 36 tackles, 2 sacks, 2 picks, 12 passes broken up. Seth V. Herman is moved to a 3-4 changing of the guard, so to speak, in terms of leadership, losing some of our best players and relying on rookies to step in many roles and moving pieces. I think we may have a slight down here. Well, it is nice that you do have Barr and Kendricks, especially at 2 like really important, like lining up the defense positions at linebacker. So I think that could easily help smooth the transition. Preacher Paul, good morning, Andy. Now, I know you don't have an answer, but has Wabi become like Where's Waldo? Rona also hitting other stations and cutbacks. Keep up the content, brother. Thank you, Paul, for keeping stores stocked and whatnot. If you're new to the stream, like Preacher Paul is I believe he's a long haul truck driver. Full on smoke. Yeah, I'm sure he enjoyed our smoking the bandit rant the other day. Like transporting booze across state lines back when that was like a federal crime. They would put you to death. It was like treason, murder, and transporting Bush Light across state lines. That was it. But yeah, I don't know what happened with Wabi. It's still a mystery. But yeah, I mean, other stations in the market having cutbacks, but yeah, it's a shame. It is a shame. Davis Waro, if you got one of the draft picks to repick from this year's draft, who would it be? I would draft AGG instead of Wanham, and then draft Curtis Weaver later. Let's see here. And draft. Oh, instead of taking Nate Stanley, I would take Derek Tutska. I already have it. I already have it nailed. All right, so where's Stanley? The Willikis was a great pick, though. I absolutely love that pick. All right, so Nate Stanley, 244. Man, I might have even taken Malcolm Perry. I mean, Brian Cole's legit. Still got Kyle Hinton. Yeah, I would have taken Hinton and Cole. I may have taken Tutska. I might have. Or, hell, maybe take Shea Patterson. I don't even care. Mo Abdul99. Favorite spicy chips? Mine is Takis. Takis are good. There's this one, I forget what it's called, but there's like a habanero kettle chip, which is really, really good. All right. I'm a fan of kettle chips in general. I mean, they're crunchier and whatnot, but yeah, I mean, yeah. Abs Abdi, how would you feel about Joe Webb returning to the Vikings? I feel like Joe Webb is like 90, isn't he? And I still think that if the Vikings, when they picked Joe Webb, 2010 6th-round pick out of UAB, Blazer, if they decided, hey, you are a quarterback or you are a wide receiver, and if they just set it and forget it, as opposed to flip-flopping back and forth 17 times, I think Joe Webb actually could have been pretty legit. I mean, 6'4", 230, woo! So he's on the Texans last year. I believe he was Deshaun's primary backup. It's a Joe Webb mock draft ball. They don't have Joe Webb. They got Joe Adams though, who was the teammate of Greg Childs and Jerry's Wright back in the day at Arkansas. It's pretty legit though. Jimmy's only 5'11". I think Joe Adams got drafted by the Panthers, I believe. But yeah, Joe Webb. Let's see, combine 6'4", 230, ran a 4.43, and really nice in the rest of the drills. 42.5-inch vert. What is going on? Oh, hold on. All right, so going down this rabbit hole, Brian Robinson. So we've talked about before. The Vikings tend to draft athletic freaks, especially at edge rusher. But Brian Robinson, by the way, are you ready? Are you sitting down? Oh my God. Becky, look at his spider chart. So Brian Robinson, the reason that B-Rob fell is that, all right, so 6'3", 259. At Texas, he played linebacker and some edge. It's like in the NFL, is he going to be a linebacker? Is he going to be edge? I don't know. That's why he fell to the mid-rounds. But 6'3", 259, 40-yard dash of a 4.67, which is absolutely insane at that size. A vertical leap of 40.5 inches, 121-inch broad jump. That's 10 feet and 1 inch. So think of a basketball hoop being laid down. He jumped that plus an inch. And then 4.26 short shuttle and the bench 27 reps. I mean, it's just that's insane. That is absolutely insane. Athletically, who does he match up with? All right, so he's being matched up with like tight ends and stuff. So Clay Harbor, Vasanth Shanko. I love Vasanth, by the way. LJ Smith. Edge rushers, looking at Goka Arakpo. Man, I really thought that Arakpo was going to be legit. I think he was a second-round pick for the Ravens, and then dude like fell down a flight of stairs and like cracked his skull bad. I don't even know if he played. All right, so by the way, if you're new to the live stream, this is what happens. Brian Arakpo. Brian Arakpo for show. Yeah, 13. Number 13 overall pick. Sorry, I need to show respect, show fealty. I thought he was a second rounder for some reason. Anyways, Am I thinking of someone completely different? I might be. All right, hold on. Ravens, second round pick fell downstairs. Sergio Kindle. I'm a moron. So I confused Sergio Kindle with Brian Arakpo just because two edge guys from Texas. That's my bad. So Sergio Kindle. Yeah, I thought Sergio Kindle was being legit. All right, so second round pick from the Ravens. There we go. Nailed that one. All right, so now, all right, June 25th. So his rookie year. Fell down a flight of stairs in Austin. Sent to hospital. Head trauma. Fractured skull. So he was able to play. No. He was able to play. So there you go. All right, so that's my bad. Screwing up Texas edge rushers. I mean, come on, player, get your stuff together. I'm sure the comment section were just like, oh my God, you're a moron. Whatevs. Next up is, all right, so that was Joe Webb going down the Sergio Kindle rabbit hole. Brian Yaz, what's the worst football-related experience you've ever had as a fan of the Vikings, fan of a division rival team? Haven't had like full-on like interpersonal like squabbles, which is kind of cool. So I don't go to a lot of games. Yeah, online is like whatever. I mean, sometimes we'll get some snooty comments in the on the comments here. I'm sure we'll get a couple from our Mitchell Trubisky, one. So yeah, it's like whatever. Kind of ignore that. It's like online isn't real life anyway. Next up, Rohit and Impudi. How much money would you give Everson, and how much would you give Logan Ryan? 4 and 4. Turtle 553. Since schedule comes out this week, which teams would you like the Vikings to play against in primetime? Carolina, I think that would be a lot of fun. Sunday Night Football, all the storylines. Teddy Bridgewater returning to U.S. Bank Stadium. Also, I want to see the NFL version of the Joe Brady offense, just run that spread. I mean, having a full offense that's going to cater to Teddy's strengths, I mean, where has he ever had that? Saints a little bit. That's about it. Bucks for sure. Let's see, what do we put in prime time in terms of our mock schedule? We got to pull that back up. Let's see. I'll put the Saints on Thursday night. Seahawks, obviously. Monday Night Football. That's about it. But most of these, I'll be okay with going in prime time, except for the Jaguars, because I think they're going to be really bad. Tristan, if the Vikings don't make the playoffs this year and don't win any playoffs games, should someone be fired? You would think so? I think if one person had to go, I think it would be Zimmer. Travis, what would your reaction be if the Packers signed Percy Harvin? I'd be like, a little bit sad, but also I don't think it's enough to salvage the corpse of Aaron Rodgers at this point. Andy Maxfield. Now, is that the... Hold on. So I'm trying to think. So there's this great show, Spartacus TV show. All right, so there's a great show on Stars that was really like hyperized, like super. Andy Whitfield. There we go. All right, so his name, Andy Maxfield, who's, by the way, a monthly platinum Jerome, got that purple check mark. Hit that join box down below and get yours as well. All right, so Andy Whitfield was the original actor who played Spartacus in the show Spartacus Blood and Sand, where super hyper violent, super like hyper sexualized story, where it's actually sort of follows the Servile War, which I believe is the third Servile War with Spartacus. And it's cool how they introduced like historical characters like Glauber, who's a praetor of the area. Also some of the historical gladiators. Then eventually you got into Crassus, who should be given the most of the credit for putting down the Servile War. I mean, Pompey comes in at the end and sort of steals Crassus' thunder. That's why Pompey and Crassus always had sort of a relationship. Also, they show a young Julius Caesar, which I don't really care for their portrayal. But Andy Whitfield, anyways, first season, great as Spartacus. But then I think he got cancer and he died. Yeah, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And yeah, he passed away. And it was really sad. It was really sad. Then they recast Spartacus. I don't know how we got into that. Oh, because his name, Andy Maxfield, reminded me of Andy Whitfield. So there you go. Also, quasi-history lesson. Plus, that was a pretty good TV show. If you can find it, go watch it. Tristan. How does it feel being the premier source of real Vikings talk now that Score North is gone? Thank God. To be fair, you were always much more informed. Yeah, certainly not going to celebrate the demise of another station. Had a bunch of friends that worked at Score North and are now out of work. So it's sad. Plus, I always feel that more options is better. And when the consumer has more options, that just means that the producers have to up their game. Like, they can't get complacent. They can't be like, oh, we have a monopoly, so we can really get lax on stuff. And in this market, I mean, there has been a de facto monopoly, and I think that the level of content has struggled in terms of like terrestrial over the airwaves type stuff. But I mean, that's what's great about, we can build a community here from scratch on these platforms that have very low barriers to entry, and then the cream does rise to the top. I mean, if you're putting out good work, I mean, the market is the market is the market. It will dictate if you get an audience or if you do not. So we're not happy with anything we put out. We think that it could get a lot better, but we thank you and the Jeromes for coming along. And yeah, it's just it is sad, because then I think that the other place just gets to be even more complacent, which hurts the overall consumer. Tristan is it's like, all right, so say there's 17,000 different places where you can get a burger, right? Well, not right now during the Rona, but under normal circumstances, like how many places? Think of your town right now. How many places can you get a burger? Tons, right? Now reduce that down to one place where you can get a burger. One. Now, is there incentive for that place to make a good burger? Not really, because, I mean, where else are you going to go, right? So the quality of that burger is going to suffer. Probably going to have long wait lines. Also, it's going to be overpriced, and also, like, the size and quality ingredients, I'm sure, are going to go way down because there's no competition. It's exactly what happens. So, I mean, Score North going down, I mean, it really sucks for everyone in this market. And, Tristan, is it just me, or does the NFL schedules feel rigged and not random because of how fair is it really? I mean, he's got a point. Mo Abdul 99, which free agent will make an impact right away? Also predict Justin Jefferson stats for his rookie year. I think Tajay will make an impact. I think Zettel, as a rotational guy, I think he'll play a handful of snaps. I think he'll get a little something done. Justin Jefferson stats, we predicted earlier, and now they're going to be completely different. So 54, 669 yards, nice, and 4 touchdowns. Zero, bunch of numbers. Which Vikings drafted in 2020 will be on the team the longest? I'm going to say Ezra Cleveland, because wide receivers, you never really know. Jeff Gladney's already 24 in November. So I'm going to say Ezra Cleveland, where he's young, plays a premium position. If he does pan out as a very solid NFL left tackle, I think the Vikings will keep him long term. So I'm going to say Ezra. Kyle Rippentrop. When will new free agents not hurt the compensatory picks? I believe that window closed last week. Do you think the Vikings will sign anyone other than Klein and Griffin? Logan Ryan one time. John Ross one time. Once the Bengals certainly do cut him. I Goddard one. Love the analysis of offensive line players, Udo and Samia. I think the D-line is in pretty good shape with depth, variety, and youth. Any chance of analysis on linebacker depth? We always hear about Barr and Kendricks, rightfully so. What is the time? Yeah, we were thinking about doing one about Eric Wilson, because I think that now he's still a de facto starter, as well as I don't think he's going to be back on the team next year, where I think the Vikings are perfectly content, besides Barr and Kendricks, just constantly churning through linebackers, because I think Getting is gone. Like, it's very rare. I think Audie Cole was the last one where you have a starter / special teams guy that gets to a second contract with the Vikings as opposed to just cycling through. Zach Hazlius. Oh yeah. Troy Dye. I'm very intrigued by him. Zach Hazlius. Is Justin Jefferson the next Troy Williamson, the next Percy Harvin, or the next Laquan Treadwell? None of them. Also, how come they're all negative? Right. I think Justin Jefferson is going to be his own man. I think he brings an interesting sizzle to the Vikings offense, and hopefully they cater to his strengths. Can do a little something. Next up is Chad Franson. What do you think of our later on draft picks say about the front office thinks our needs are for more after that? I think, well, they had a knockout day 1, very solid day 2, awesome round 4. And then after that, I feel like Spielman just let his dog make the picks. I mean, Willicus was awesome. Loved the Kyle Hinton pick, but the rest of them was like, okay. Akelin 14. What happened to the Holton Hill film session? Oh, yeah. Forgot to do it. Lazy. We'll get it done at some point. Jared Lewis. If the Vikings start 2020 with the O-line they have right now, how many wins do you think the Vikings will have? 11. I personally think 6 wins because they're 11. Rowett and Impudi. If you had to choose between Logan Ryan and Prince Amukamara, who would it be? Logan Ryan. I would pay Logan Ryan double whatever Prince Amukamara would play for. Prince Amukamara is bad. Torrey Hansen. Who, in your opinion, will have a bigger year, Kyle Rudolph or Irv Smith Jr.? I think this will be a bit of a passing of the torch year, where Rudolph, I mean, surprised a lot of people, had a career season last year. But I think Irv Smith, year 2, settled into the system, more defined role, really starts blowing up. Jacob McCullough. Love the channel, been here since 3K subs. Thank you, man. Eric Normal. Do you view Tajay Sharp as the third option receiver ahead of BB, Davis, Mitchell? Your thoughts? I don't put him ahead of BC right now. I think BC and Sharp will have their specific roles. And also, I mean, Justin Jefferson, I don't know if he's going to be handed the starting job right away. If he earns it, awesome. But yeah, don't sleep on BC or Sharp. T-Rag, what exactly is Randy Moss number? Why is Randy Moss's number not retired yet? Saw CD got 88. It made me think of Cordero and Irv Smith. So if they want to reserve 84 as a more ceremonial number, they pass it on to like the next perceived great wide receiver, like what the Cowboys have done with 88. So 88's gone from Drew Pearson to Michael Irvin to Dez and now to CD Lamb. So I think if they do that, Makes sense. But also, I understand why they haven't retired 84. It's because they've sort of pigeonholed themselves because they've already retired 3 wide receiver eligible numbers. So 10, Tarkenton, 80, Chris Carter, and 88, Alan Page. So if they take a number, another one of those numbers off the potential roster, meh. Also, I think retiring numbers, I mean, that's so 2000 and late, if kids even use that term anymore. Like, I really respect what the Raiders and the Steelers do. So they take numbers out of circulation, but they reserve them for special players. Like you look at 12 with the Raiders. You look at what have the Steelers done? Okay, maybe not. Stanley Morris, more heartbreaking, 38-7 or Blair Walsh Shank in the bank. I think 38-7. I mean, the Blair Walsh one was more of a kick in the pants. And that would have shadowed your because it was so cold that day. But 38-7 was more of a huge letdown because home Super Bowl, amazing, out of nowhere magic carpet ride of a team 2017. Case Keenum had a horseshoe up his arse. Everything was great. Scored that first touchdown on the road. Kyle Rudolph, touchdown from Case Keenum, 7-0. Oh, here we go. It's happening. And then just I think that one because there's more in line. I mean, the Blair Walsh one was shocking, but of course it was still just a wild card game. I mean, a lot could have happened, but I mean that game 38-7 was for the Super Bowl, a home Super Bowl. Donovan Lee, name 5 Vikings who you think need to step up in 2020. BC Johnson, Drew Samia, Oli Udoh, Afadio Denebo, starter Afadio Denebo, and Mike Hughes. Donovan Lee, Ethan Griffith. What team do we hate most after the Packers? I'm thinking Saints. Yeah, I think it's always going to be the Saints. Like, do you really hate the Bears? Do you really hate the Lions? No. Do you really hate the Eagles? More hate the Eagles fans than anything. Older Vikings fans hate the Cowboys. I never really did, but I wasn't alive for the push-off, so maybe that makes sense. Max Kallenberg. How lucky do you think it is we get Ross or Gallup? What do you think the roles would be on the roster? Well, Ross more likely than Gallup. Gallup would come in as the wide receiver too. He just would right away. John Ross, if you gave up a conditional 7th and John Ross is like, hey, you run 9 routes and you return kicks and then that is all. I mean, I think that would be worth it. Pulford Skull. I think Gallup would be an excellent contributor in addition. Underutilized for sure. Pretty sure Dallas Brown and Dalton the message deck. We aren't paying you. I mean, it's super interesting. Like all the outlets saying is like, oh, the signing of Andy Dalton has nothing to do with Dak. Oh, he lives here. Andy Dalton lives here. It's like it has no impact at all on Dak. Okay, sure. Rohit and Impudi. Over the cap, it says that the cutting Reef pre-June 1st. Sure. Do you think the Vikings will cut Reef before the start of next season? I think what they'll do, and it's something that we've talked about before, they'll take it all the way to the end of training camp right before the season, and then they'll be like, hey, take a pay cut or a cut. And now it's a strong arm tactic for sure. Riley Reef doesn't have guaranteed money left in his deal. So he has to decide, all right, so do I take less now or get cut, try to land on a team, try and make some facsimile of what the pay cut would be, even though everyone's got their money spent. And I have to learn a brand new system, have to break into a brand new starting lineup. I think he'll probably just take the cut. So that's what my guess is. Mike Zimmer. Which one better, Guitar Hero or Rock Band? Never really played Rock Band. Never really played Guitar Hero either. So I guess Guitar Hero. Because there are a number of songs that I only remember because of Rock Band. Like Sweet Child of Mine or Guitar Hero. Jack Rose, surprise cut candidates. Jalen Holmes, Jaleel Johnson, Eric Wilson, maybe. If he signs his tender, I mean that's fully guaranteed, so maybe not. Or is it fully guaranteed? Actually, I don't think it is. So maybe Eric Wilson. Say Troy Dye really steps up. Gideon, Elfline, that shouldn't be a surprise cut though. It's really about it. Like I don't perceive like any real shockers coming out of the gate, unless like Udoh and Samia are ready to go at guard. Ezra Cleveland's ready to go left tackle, and then Riley Reef. But would that really be shocking? I don't know. Last one, Landon Miller. What do you think about the NFC North quarterback rotation? Rodgers goes to the Bears, Trubisky, Packers. Love won't work. Cousins to the Lions, Stafford to the Vikings. No. 2, if Everson were to come back, the Vikings use him exclusively at 3-tech. I mean, he has had a lot of experience inside, especially before he cracked the starting lineup, like when it was B-Rob and Jared Allen. There was a lot of Everson playing interior. 35-year-old Tom Johnson one time. Nah. Like, you really do like Lynch. You do really like maybe Hercules finally gets together year 3. So there's some potential there. All right, and that is it. That is the live stream for Monday. Thank you guys so much for coming along. Again, live stream every single day, weekday, Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Central Time. Do that up. Jerome's on the live stream. Love you all. You're the best. Until next time. Skull, production value.